I'm Judge Erica Yu of the Santa Clara County Superior Court. When I became a judge almost 20 years ago, I was the first Asian American woman appointed to this bench in its almost 170-year history. Since then, I've been joined by many colleagues who share an Asian or Pacific Islander background, and we're here today to commemorate Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Except for Native Americans and African Americans, many Americans' stories start with immigration or travel to the United States to seek refuge and a better life. As Americans, we share a common quest for freedom, economic opportunities, and justice. As Americans, we also hope for success and security for our families and our homes. Chinese immigrants first came to the United States in the 1850s to join the gold rush. In the 1860s, it was Chinese Americans who largely built the Transcontinental Railroad. In the 1870s, the United States suffered economic downturn, which led to hostilities and violence against Chinese Americans, culminating in the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act. This act was repealed 61 years later, in 1943, but Chinese immigration was limited to 105 people a year. Eventually, these restrictions were lifted, and my parents came to the United States in 1958, so my father could attend Stanford University. They settled in the Bay Area and had 3 children. I'm Judge Erica Yu, and I'm an American.
In the 1880s, farm workers from Japan were brought to Hawaii and the west coast of the United States. As with the Chinese immigrants who preceded them, my grandparents were prohibited by law from becoming U.S. citizens and thus could not own land or vote. They could not marry a non-Oriental. I am Judge Roberta Hayashi, and I am an American.
In the days following the attack on Pearl Harbor, all Japanese Americans were perceived as being part of an enemy nation. On March 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, under which all persons of Japanese ancestry were considered inherently disloyal. My grandparents, who were residents, along with my father, aunts, and uncles, who were all United States citizens, were forced to sell their real property and home, suspend their business, and were incarcerated in concentration camps, along with 120,000 residents and citizens, men, women, and children, who had so much as 1/8 Japanese blood. Notwithstanding these injustices, my father and his brothers enlisted and proudly served in the United States Army during World War II. I am Judge Drew Takeichi, and I am an American.
Our families, like many families here, came to the United States to pursue the American dream of a better life. For some of us, that means our parents and grandparents came from China, Japan, and other Asian countries in the years after World War II. After serving in the military, my maternal grandfather immigrated with my grandmother from the Philippines to raise their family. Later, my father came from the Philippines to get his PhD. He met my mother when they were studying at UC Berkeley. I am Judge Audra Ibarra, and I too am an American.
In the 1970s, immigrants and refugees from Vietnam, Laos, and other parts of Southeast Asia came to the United States to seek a safe and sustaining life for their children. As refugees from Vietnam, my family and I came to America in pursuit of freedom and better opportunities. I am Judge Lei Jacqueline Zoom, and I am an American.
We value our Asian roots, and they enrich the lives of our communities and families. Like many immigrant families, however, while we continue to celebrate holidays from our culture, we also embrace holidays from other cultures represented in the United States. This blending and melding of traditions leads to a uniquely blended American cultural experience. I am Judge Sunil Kulkarni, and I am an American.
My parents were born on the beautiful island of Guam, which has been a U.S. territory since 1898. Because many folks do not know where Guam is, and because we look different, I grew up with people frequently asking me, "Where are you really from? Do people on Guam live in grass huts?" I am Judge Johnny Cepeda Gogo, and I am an American.
Whether our fathers or uncles served the U.S. military in World War II, the Korean conflict, or the Vietnam War, they were seen as foreigners, even though they had taken an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. My father is a decorated veteran and a retired Marine Corps officer, and like many of our Asian, American, and Pacific Islander elders, they are often discriminated against, despite having faithfully served our country. I am Judge Jacqueline Arroyo, and I am an American.
When my parents became United States citizens in Hawaii, they took an oath of allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. When I became a judge of the Santa Clara County Superior Court, I took a similar oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. I am Judge Fred Chung, and I am an American.
Like many Asian Americans born in California, I share my Asian roots with a European heritage that includes German, Scottish, and English identity. As judges of the Santa Clara County Superior Court, we are committed to providing justice to all persons who come before us, regardless of race, national origin, gender, or sexual orientation. I am Judge Dan Nishigaya, and I am an American.
We share our Asian heritage with over 1/3 of the residents of this county. We share our immigrant heritage with almost all Americans. I am Judge Carrie Cepeda, and I am an American.
I am Ted Zahner, and I'm an American. I am also the presiding judge of the Santa Clara County Superior Court. I too am descended from immigrants. My grandparents came to the United States early in the 20th century, and my parents were both first-generation U.S. born. Our court's diversity on the basis of race, national origin, gender, and sexual orientation is one of the strengths of our bench and reflects our community. I am proud to stand with my colleagues as we commemorate Asian American Heritage Month.